Think Mexican mornings in the 80s were just cafe and toast? Not even close. Back then, the day started with corn sizzling on the comal, lard popping, and chilies blooming into smoke and sweetness. In this video, we're reviving 20 breakfasts your grandma swore by, like eggs that disappear into a dark, velvety chili bath, and a thick, spiced atole you could almost chew. 20. Eggs in pasilla chili sauce with nopales. It sounded simple, until you watched how much care went into the sauce. Eggs in pasilla chili sauce with nopales was the kind of breakfast that didn't just fill you up, it held you down until midday. It came from regions where nopales weren't a trend, they were life. An emblematic plant that showed up on the table because it was nutritious, local, and dependable. What made this dish special was the pasilla chili, and the method mattered. The chili had to be toasted carefully on a comal, not burned, not rushed, then rehydrated so it could release that signature, smoky, earthy, almost fruity depth that makes pasilla taste like the grown-up version of heat. Blended with tomato, onion, garlic, and cumin, the sauce wasn't done until it was fried in pork lard and turned velvety, thick, and unified. Then came the real old-school move. The eggs weren't scrambled or fried. They were cracked straight into the boiling sauce and gently poached so the whites set slowly while the yolks stayed soft enough to melt into the chili when you broke them. And you didn't eat it alone. Refried beans were right there because Grandma didn't serve a little plate. She served a full morning. Number 19. Migas with a la Mexicana, eggs. This dish was born from one rule the older kitchens live by: nothing gets wasted. Migas with eggs took yesterday's tortillas and turned them into a breakfast that felt like a small miracle. And it's not chilaquiles, not even close, because the goal here wasn't to soak anything into softness. The tortillas were cut into strips or small squares and fried until they were aggressively crunchy, the kind of crunch you can hear. Separately, the a la Mexicana base came together fast. Tomato, onion, and serrano sautéed until everything smelled sharp, bright, and awake. Then eggs went in, beaten and poured over, and just when the scramble was almost set, those crunchy tortilla pieces got tossed in at the last moment. That timing was everything. Some bits softened as they grabbed onto the egg, and some stayed crisp, so every bite had that split-second texture switch that makes migas feel addictive. It was cheap, fast, and smart, and it disappeared mostly because chilaquiles became the more famous cousin, even when migas were the better weekday dish. Number 18. Egg gorditas in chile de arbol sauce. A gordache was never meant to be delicate. It was built for workers, a thick, oval corn base from the Valley of Mexico, sturdy enough to hold a real topping without folding in half like a sad tortilla. In an 80s grandma kitchen, breakfast gorditas started with the base cooked on the comal, then lightly fried for firmness. Refried beans went on first because beans weren't decoration, they were structure. Then came the eggs, fried with that perfect balance, edges set, yolk still living. But what made this dish snap you awake was the sauce. Chile de arbol salsa wasn't a maybe later. It was clean, sharp heat designed to energize you like a slap of cold water. Traditionally, it was ground with garlic and salt in a molcajete, sometimes with a little tomato, creating a bright, fiery dressing that didn't hide behind sweetness or extra ingredients. This was the breakfast version of an alarm clock: dense corn, creamy beans, rich egg, and a salsa that demanded you start your day. Number 17. Poached eggs in black bean broth. This one didn't come from restaurant culture. It came from the countryside, from kitchens where the broth from beans wasn't something you poured out, it was something you respected. Poached eggs in black bean broth is subsistence cooking at its smartest, especially tied to regions like Puebla and Oaxaca, where black beans were a daily anchor. The broth was blended with garlic, onion, and epazote, that unmistakable herb that makes the whole dish smell like home, plus a mild dried chile like morita or pasilla to deepen the color and give the broth a low, smoky undertone. Then it was briefly fried to set the flavor so it tasted unified and thick, not watery and raw. Eggs were poached right inside that dark, aromatic liquid, letting the yolks absorb the bean and herb essence as they cooked. Served in a deep bowl with crumbled fresh cheese, it became a complete meal, warm, heavy in the best way, and deeply restorative. Some people today call it too country or too much for breakfast. Grandma would call it the reason you can make it through a day. Number 16. Chorizo and eggs in red sauce with potatoes. This wasn't the kind of breakfast you made when you were trying to be light. This was the big day breakfast. The market morning, the work-hard morning, the morning you needed real fuel. The process started with chorizo, the kind that releases its own fat as it cooks, turning the pan into a flavor bath. That pork fat became the cooking medium for diced potatoes, letting them soak up the chili spice intensity so every piece tasted like it belonged. Then eggs were added and cooked through, but the dish didn't end there. Everything got bathed in a red sauce made from guajillo chilies and spices, sometimes lightly thickened with a touch of corn masa so it had body and didn't run all over the plate. The result wasn't a scramble. It was a stew-like breakfast with layers, spicy, rich, starchy, and completely unapologetic. Number 15. Bean Atole. Some breakfasts weren't chewed, they were sipped with a spoon. Bean Atole is one of the most ancestral drink-as-food traditions in Mexican cooking, a direct link to the pre-Hispanic family of savory atoles. And it wasn't just a casual drink. In many communities, it belonged to ceremonies, festivals, and major events, the kind of food that signals offering and gratitude. It was thick, creamy, and protein-heavy, made by blending nixtamalized corn masa with ayocote or black beans until smooth, then cooking it slowly until it became a bowl-worthy drink. The secret ingredient that often got lost over time was the herb, paleo, with its mint and eucalyptus edge, or sometimes avocado leaf, added to balance the heaviness with a medicinal, digestive note. Served hot with whole beans and epazote, it was the kind of breakfast that didn't just warm you, it steadied you. Number 14. Chileatole with cow's foot. Chileatole already sounds like it should be filling, and then you hear the old version use cow's foot, and you understand why people called it a reviver. This was an ancestral atole soup that evolved into a thick meal for workers, especially in regions like Puebla, Tlaxcala, and Veracruz. Cow's foot had to be boiled for hours, not just to soften it, but to pull collagen and marrow into the broth until it turned naturally gelatinous. That broth became the base, thickened with corn masa and cooked with poblano chile, tender corn kernels, and lots of epazote. The texture came out silky and dense, almost luxurious, and the heat made it feel medicinal. It was the kind of breakfast you ate on cold mornings, or the kind you reached for when your body needed to be put back together. Number 13. Pan de Yema, soaked in water-based chocolate. This wasn't bread and cocoa, this was a ritual. In Oaxaca, pan de Yema is more than a sweetbread. It's artisanal pride, tied to offerings, festivities, and the kind of baking that takes time and skill. The dough gets its color and richness from egg yolks, and in older styles sometimes even lard or a little pulque used as yeast. But the key is how it was eaten. Grandma didn't nibble it dry. She dunked it into a cup of water-based chocolate made from stone-ground Oaxacan cacao and cinnamon. Water, not milk, is what kept the flavor intense, bitter, deep, pure, so the chocolate tasted like cacao, not dessert. The bread soaked until it nearly dissolved, turning the bite into this soft, warm, saturated comfort that felt like a slow morning you didn't want to leave. Number 12. Pinole champurrado. Pinole is ancient, toasted and ground corn flour with a name that reaches back to Nahuatl, and it was built for endurance. That's why it became famous as energy food, especially for people who had to move long distances. Pinole champurrado took that already toasted flour and used it as the thickener instead of raw masa, which changed the flavor completely. Toasting gives pinole a nutty, smoky depth that doesn't exist in modern quick versions. Dissolved into hot water or milk and combined with metate ground chocolate and piloncillo, it became a traveler's breakfast, sweet, filling, and functional. It wasn't just cozy, it was practical warmth you could drink. Number 11. Corundas filled with whitefish. In Michoacán, corundas are ancestral tamales from the Purépecha tradition, and their shape alone tells you they're different, triangular or pyramid-like. Wrapped in fresh green corn leaves instead of dry husks, giving them that soft texture and vegetal aroma. The forgotten breakfast version went further, filled with pescado blanco from Lake Pátzcuaro, shredded and stewed in a mild chili sauce, then served bathed in tomato sauce with crema and cheese. It's the kind of dish that feels festive even on a normal day, but it faded because native whitefish became scarce and because shaping and wrapping corundas is real work. Grandma made them when it mattered. Number 10. Head barbacoa tacos. Barbacoa wasn't just food, it was a weekend ritual. In central Mexico, meat cooked in an underground pit lined with maguey leaves for hours becomes something you don't rush. And Sunday morning became the moment people gathered around it. The most prized breakfast tacos came from the head, cheek meat, tender maciza, and the gelatinous, rich parts that practically melt. But the essential companion was the consommé, the fatty, collagen-rich juices collected at the bottom of the pit, under the meat and leaves. Served hot with onion and cilantro, it wasn't just tasty, it was restorative, a breakfast that felt like it could fix you from the inside out. Number 9. Pellizcadas with pressed chicharrón. Pellizcadas were built by hand, literally. The name comes from pinching the edges of a thick tortilla while it's still hot to form a rustic rim that can hold fillings like a shallow bowl. In Veracruz and Tabasco, the intense breakfast version started with refried beans spread across the base, then a mound of chicharrón prensado, pressed pork meat, fat and skin, stewed in green sauce or red adobo until it was bold, rich, and unapologetically greasy. This wasn't refined food, it was energy food for people working in heavy heat, where fat and salt weren't bad, they were fuel. Today it gets pushed aside for lighter options, but in the 80s, Grandma knew exactly why it belonged on the morning table. Number 8. Enfrijoladas. Stuffed with fried queso adobera. Enfrijoladas exist everywhere, tortillas bathed in bean sauce, but the forgotten version made it a real luxury. The tortilla wasn't just dipped, it was passed through oil first, then through black bean sauce so it came out glossy and rich. And the filling was the point. Thick strips of queso adobera, or ranchero cheese, fried beforehand so the outside formed a golden crust, while the inside stayed melted and warm. That frying step is what changed the bite. Instead of soft on soft, you got texture, crisp edges, creamy center, and beans wrapping everything like a blanket. It was substantial without needing meat, and it tasted like the dairy regions that raised it. Number 7. Atole tanchawa. This Huasteca drink food was made to fight the morning cold and give you serious energy. Sometimes called jacket atole, it got its dark color from deep piloncillo, and in some versions, toasted cacao husk or toasted masa itself. What made it stand out was the spice profile. Cinnamon, clove, allspice, warming flavors that made it taste almost chocolate adjacent, even when it wasn't a true chocolate drink. To make it even more filling, chunks of cooked sweet potato or squash were added, turning the cup into a full meal. This wasn't something you sipped lightly, it was something you relied on. Number 6. Tostadas with dried fish. Tinga. Coastal kitchens had a different kind of practicality, and dried fish tinga is proof. In places like Campeche and Tabasco, salted, dried fish could replace beef when meat was harder to get. But it wasn't easy. The fish had to be rehydrated, then shredded, then stewed in a tinga sauce made from tomato, onion, chipotle in adobo, and bay leaf. Chipotle gave the smokiness that fresh meat naturally carries, so the stew still tasted deep and satisfying. Served on a crunchy tostada spread with refried beans, it was salty, smoky, spicy, and oddly comforting, a breakfast built from preservation techniques, not convenience culture. Number 5. Huasteca-style chilaquiles with cecina. Chilaquiles can be a snack or a celebration, and this version was absolutely the celebration. The chips were fried in lard and drenched in a richly spiced red or green sauce. But the real centerpiece was cecina enchilada, salted, dried meat marinated in chile adobo, grilled or fried, then laid across the top like a reward. Cotija cheese followed, hard and salty, and thick crema to balance the heat and bind it all together. This was a morning banquet designed to carry you for hours, not a light plate meant to get you to lunch. In the 80s, it was the kind of breakfast that announced, "Today matters." Number 4. Gorditas, stuffed with requesón and poblano strips. This one is ranch cooking with quiet confidence. A gordita is a thick corn masa round cooked on the comal, then opened and filled so it becomes a one-dish meal. The filling here was the jewel. Requesón, soft and grainy like ricotta, mixed with roasted poblano strips and epazote so the aroma hit herbal and smoky at once. As the gordita warmed, the requesón turned creamy and the poblano stayed tender, while the corn exterior gave you that toasted comal flavor. It wasn't flashy, it was fresh ingredient cooking, and it depended on having real requesón, which is exactly why it's harder to find in modern city routines. Number 3. Tlacoyos of beans with pipicha paste. Tlacoyos are older than Mexican street food as a concept. Thick, oval, stuffed masa cakes dating back to pre-Hispanic times, designed to be portable and nourishing. The forgotten version from Puebla and Oaxaca took the bean filling and mixed it with pipicha paste, an herb with a flavor that's hard to imitate, somewhere between cilantro, anise, and earth. As it cooked on the comal, that aroma came out of the filling and filled the kitchen with a countryside kind of perfume. Served with molcajete salsa and fresh cheese, it was simple but deeply distinctive. And because pipicha is local and specific, this version faded outside the places where the herb grows. Number 2. Chilpachole de jaiba. This breakfast didn't pretend to be light. Chilpachole is an atole thickened soup from Veracruz and Tamaulipas, built around the meeting of corn masa and seafood. Bold, hot, and deeply nourishing. Crab was cooked in a broth of tomato, chipotle, and smoky chilies like guajillo or ancho, then hit with epazote so the whole pot smelled alive. The masa thickened it into a robust soup you could eat with a spoon, not a thin broth you sip quickly. It was eaten to lift spirits, fight cold, or handle hangovers, the kind of dish that feels like it's doing work inside you. It's less common now because it takes time and fresh ingredients, but that's exactly why Grandma's version felt special. Finally, at number 1, Gorditas de nata. These weren't just sweet gorditas, they were a dairy treasure. Gorditas de nata depended on something city life doesn't always give you: fresh ranch milk and the thick layer of fat, nata, that forms after boiling. Instead of using butter or lard, Grandma used nata directly in the dough, sweetened it with sugar or piloncillo, and cooked the gorditas slowly on a comal until golden. Nata gives a deep dairy flavor and a crumbly, tender texture that practically melts when you bite it. Paired with café de olla, it wasn't just breakfast, it was comfort with a purpose. And the reason they faded is the simplest. Getting good nata got harder, so the dish slipped out of everyday kitchens. If this brought back a memory, subscribe for more forgotten food history, and tell me, which one are you bringing back tomorrow morning, and which one are you respectfully avoiding? Make sure to hit that subscribe button for more rich, nostalgic foods like these.